Hi there, this is Steve Kaufman. I'm not at home, I'm on holiday. I had 2 weeks in China, magnificent weeks. The country's just amazing, the amount of construction. Somebody said that the national bird of China is the construction crane. Crane, get it? Bird, crane. You just see construction cranes everywhere. The density of construction in even smaller towns. I traveled on the high-speed train. It's magnificent. There's phenomenal rail stations in every town. It just blows the mind. And for someone who lived there, or at least didn't live there, but visited there in the late 60s, early 70s, to see what's happening in China today is just beyond belief. And of course, it all started to happen, insofar as economic growth was concerned, once the free action of the market, once private initiative was allowed to participate in the economic activity in China. Prior to that, they had all kinds of public initiatives, mass mobilization of the people based on whatever theory was popular with the government at that time. The government made all the decisions. And so people were mobilized with spades to go and dig lengthy, irrigation ditches that may or may not have been useful, backyard furnaces and whatever they did, I can't remember. But the net result was a lot of wasted energy, wasted resources, suffering, people dying unnecessarily, and so forth. And in the last 30 years, the country has just progressed economically tremendously. Now, it has created a lot of inequality in the country, and I think that's something they're trying to address now. But it has created tremendous wealth, tremendous wealth. So many people are well off, well-to-do, sitting in the train with people they've all got iPads, the people that I'm sitting with. Now, of course, there are very poor people who are working largely on piecework, 14 hours a day, but no one's complaining that I can see. They're all working very hard to try and improve their lot, and so you take 1.3 billion people, or a large number of them, working very, very hard, and you have a tremendous economic engine. But I was thinking about this whole issue of public and private, because we have a tremendous crisis now in the Western world, where we have countries that have enormous debt, and public sectors that feel they are entitled to, as almost like a birthright, to certain conditions of work and compensation. And by the same token, people want to avoid paying taxes in some countries, I guess, particularly in places like Greece. But countries, and in Italy and elsewhere, but also in the United States and so forth, countries have been running these enormous, enormous deficits. So I don't know in detail how useful a lot of public expenditure is. It's certainly true that it's hard to argue against things like, publicly, like that the whole society pays for medical care, the whole society pays for health care, for education, that we have public parks, public facilities, that all these things are available free of charge, even that the medical system is available free of charge. It's a very popular idea. I myself like the idea that we have public facilities that we can use without having to pay for them. It's a great idea if we can afford them. The problem is that the size of government and of course, I was just looking at our own situation where I live in Vancouver. In our municipal government in West Vancouver, 80% of the cost is in wages. The wage package and the compensation package that those people have is much higher than the corresponding level in the private sector. The size of our local government has grown by 40% in the last 8 or 9 years, when inflation has been very low. I don't think any citizens are aware of any improvement in services, but these organizations just naturally grow. They feel they have to do this, they have to hire that person, this person, and it all grows. If I look at language education for immigrants, which costs Canada about $1 billion a year, sort of instruction in the official languages, primarily for immigrants, but also this. I recently read in the paper that a senior bureaucrat was appointed to some position and he was in his 50s, I guess, and so the government decided that he was going to get 1 or 2 years of full-time French instruction. The man probably earns well over $100,000. He's going to earn his salary, and he's going to have full-time language instruction. In this particular article I read in the paper, it said that language instruction, intensive language instruction can cost up to $100,000 a year in Ottawa. I mean, that's absolutely mind-blowing. A high percentage of people within the civil service who take these language courses in French never ever end up using the language. But if I get back to the immigrants, I ask myself the question: if there was no government-supported language instruction for immigrants, what would happen? Would there be any difference? I think that there wouldn't be much difference in terms of the rate at which immigrants learn English or French. I'm gonna let that ring. Those immigrants now who want to learn, they learn. They find a way to learn. And if you're living in Canada, let's say, if you're living in Vancouver, you have the radio, you have television, you have newspapers, you have all the resources that are available on the internet for learning languages. You can go buy a book, you can go to the library, you can borrow materials, you can borrow Rosetta Stone. There's so much available if you're motivated to learn, not to mention just talking to people. People who are not motivated to learn won't learn. So you can send them to school, and we see them now. The immigrants gather, every morning for their 2-hour class, and then go back home and spend the rest of the day in their native language, and they don't learn. So I'm quite convinced that if immigrants are told language improvement is your own responsibility, you have to do it, maybe even held out some, competition or reward, but even without that, just tell them it's your job to do it. We expect you to do it, but no one can help you. You have to do it on your own. You have to want to do it. If you want to do it, you can do it. If you don't want to do it, you aren't going to be able to do it, whether you go to school or not. I think that there would be little difference in outcomes, that all of the money we spend on schools in this public education of immigrants in the official languages in Canada is largely a waste of money. That it's not a waste of money in the sense that there are teachers earning salaries from this, but in terms of the net effect, in terms of the number of people who come to Canada and who learn to speak English well or French, I don't think it has much impact. And I'd be very interested to hear your opinion, and I'm sure that most people don't agree with me. So, look forward to hearing from you. Bye for now.